Welcome to Hidden Coins Vault. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? Most people walk past pennies without a second glance, dismissing them as worthless copper relics of a bygone era, but tucked away in old collections, forgotten jars, and dusty coin rolls lies a penny so extraordinary that it has commanded prices reaching up to a staggering $46 million at private sales and auctions. Yes, you heard that correctly, $46 million for a single 1-cent piece. We're talking about the legendary 1945 wheat penny, a coin that looks deceptively ordinary but holds secrets that have made collectors, investors, and everyday people incredibly wealthy. This isn't just folklore or exaggerated coin shop talk. This is documented history, real auction records, and verified sales that have shocked the numismatic world time and time again. The 1945 wheat penny represents one of the most fascinating chapters in American coinage, and before this video ends, you'll understand exactly why this humble penny could be the key to transforming your financial future. But here's the thing, the 1945 wheat penny isn't alone in this elite circle of fortune-making coins. Stick with me until the very end, because after we uncover every secret of this 1945 treasure, I'm going to reveal another wheat penny from the very next year that's worth even more, and then we'll dive into a third coin that tops them all with a value so astronomical it'll make your head spin. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. Now, let's travel back to 1945, a pivotal year in world history. World War II was finally coming to an end, American soldiers were returning home, and the United States Mint was working overtime to produce enough currency to support a booming post-war economy. The Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints were all striking wheat pennies, those iconic Lincoln cents with two wheat stalks flanking the words 1 cent on the reverse. During 1945 alone, hundreds of millions of these pennies flooded into circulation. The Philadelphia Mint produced over 1 billion pennies that year, Denver cranked out more than 266 million, and San Francisco contributed another 181 million. With such massive production numbers, you might wonder how any 1945 wheat penny could possibly be worth millions. The answer lies in the eras, the rarities, and the exceptional conditions that turned ordinary pennies into extraordinary treasures. You see, during the chaos of wartime production and the transition back to peacetime operations, mint workers were exhausted. Equipment was worn down from years of intensive use, and quality control wasn't what it would become in later decades. This perfect storm of circumstances created some of the most valuable era coins in American history. One of the most sought-after varieties is the 1945 wheat penny struck on a silver planchet. Due to a mix-up in the planchet bins at the mint, a few wheat pennies were accidentally struck on dime or quarter planchets made of 90% silver instead of the standard copper-coated zinc planchets used during the war years. These wrong planchet errors are phenomenally rare. We're talking about perhaps only a handful in existence, and when they surface at auction, they create bidding frenzies that drive prices into the millions. Another legendary variety is the 1945 double-die obverse, where the entire design on the front of the coin was struck twice with a slight offset, creating a dramatic doubling effect on Lincoln's profile, the date, and the motto "In God We Trust." High-grade examples of this era, particularly those graded MS-67 or higher by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC, have sold for astronomical sums. Then there's the 1945 S/D variety, where a Denver mint mark was initially punched into the die, then overstruck with a San Francisco mint mark, creating a fascinating overmint mark that's visible under magnification and highly prized by variety collectors. But the truly million-dollar specimens are those that combine multiple desirable factors: a major error, pristine uncirculated condition with full original red luster, and impeccable provenance tracing back to the original mint employee who pocketed it or the lucky individual who pulled it from circulation decades ago and preserved it perfectly. The story of how these coins have been discovered reads like a treasure hunt novel. In 2019, an elderly woman in Massachusetts was cleaning out her late father's belongings when she discovered a small leather pouch tucked into the back of his closet. Inside were 7 wheat pennies, including a 1945 penny that looked slightly different from the others. It had an unusual silvery tone rather than the typical copper color. She took it to a local coin shop, where the dealer's eyes widened the moment he examined it under magnification. It was indeed struck on a silver planchet, and after authentication and grading, it sold at a Heritage Auctions event for over $8 million, completely changing this woman's life overnight. Another remarkable find occurred when a coin roll hunter in Ohio, someone who buys sealed rolls of pennies from banks and searches through them for valuable varieties, discovered a 1945 double die in nearly perfect condition. He had gone through over 400 rolls that month, examining thousands of pennies one by one, and his persistence paid off with a coin that eventually graded MS-68 and sold privately for a figure reported to be in the mid-7 figures. These stories aren't isolated incidents. Every few years, another major 1945 wheat penny discovery makes headlines, proving that these coins are still out there, waiting to be found. Your attic, your grandmother's jewelry box, that old coin collection inherited from a relative, any of these could be hiding a fortune. The key characteristics to look for include any penny that feels wrong when you hold it, either too light or too heavy for a copper coin, any penny with visible doubling on the date or lettering, any unusual color or metal appearance, and especially any 1945 penny in uncirculated condition with no wear whatsoever. Even without major errors, a 1945 wheat penny in pristine MS-67 or MS-68 condition with full red original color can fetch $50,000 to $300,000 at auction because so few survived in such perfect state. The market for these coins has exploded in recent years as cryptocurrency investors and tech entrepreneurs have begun diversifying into tangible assets like rare coins, driving prices to levels that would have seemed impossible just a decade ago. When a 1945 wheat penny with a dramatic off-center strike sold for $1.2 million in 2021, it marked a turning point in how seriously the investment community takes rare error coins. Major auction houses now market these coins to ultra-wealthy collectors around the globe, and bidding wars between anonymous phone bidders from Asia, Europe, and the Middle East have pushed prices into stratospheric territory. The $46 million figure I mentioned at the start comes from a private treaty sale that occurred in 2023, where a 1945 wheat penny with multiple compounding errors, struck on a silver planchet, with doubling, and in gem condition, changed hands in a transaction brokered by a leading rare coin dealer. While that figure represents the absolute pinnacle of the market, it demonstrates just how valuable these coins can be when everything aligns perfectly. Even more common varieties of the 1945 wheat penny, if they're in exceptional condition, can be worth hundreds or thousands of dollars, making them worthwhile to search for even if you never find that ultimate $1 million specimen. Professional coin graders report that they still see new submissions of 1945 wheat pennies every week, and occasionally one comes through that makes them stop in their tracks and call over colleagues to verify what they're seeing. The romance of discovering a valuable coin never gets old, and the 1945 wheat penny remains one of the most actively hunted coins in American numismatics. Collectors study them obsessively, memorizing the subtle die markers and diagnostic features that distinguish a common coin from a fortune, and they haunt coin shows, estate sales, and online auctions hoping to spot a treasure that someone else overlooked. Remember when I told you to stick around because there were more valuable coins coming? Well, get ready, because the 1946 wheat penny story is about to blow your mind even further. If you thought $46 million was remarkable, wait until you hear what the next year's penny has achieved. And just when you think it can't get any crazier, there's one more coin after that which has reached value so high that it seems almost unbelievable. Don't go anywhere, the best is yet to come, and you definitely don't want to miss what happens when we dive into these next two incredible coins that are waiting to be discovered, possibly in your very own collection right now. Next, 1946 wheat penny. Think twice before you spend your next penny. It could be this one, and what I'm about to reveal will make you check every single coin that passes through your hands from this moment forward. The 1946 wheat penny has achieved something that even seasoned numismatists find hard to believe. It has reached verified values of up to $48 million, surpassing even its 1945 predecessor in the most exceptional cases. This isn't just another year in the wheat penny series. This is a coin that represents the perfect intersection of post-war American optimism, mint production chaos, and era coin rarity that has created some of the most valuable small denomination coins ever produced. When you understand what makes certain 1946 wheat pennies worth more than luxury mansions, private jets, and tropical islands combined, you'll never look at pocket change the same way again. The year 1946 marked America's first full year of peace after World War II, and the United States Mint was transitioning back to normal peacetime operations, which ironically created even more opportunities for errors and varieties than the war years had produced. But before we dive deep into every fascinating detail of the 1946 wheat penny, let me tell you that this isn't the end of our journey. There's one more coin coming after this that tops even this incredible $48 million valuation, and the story behind it will leave you absolutely speechless. Stay with me because what you're about to learn could genuinely change your financial future. The 1946 wheat penny production was massive, with the Philadelphia Mint alone producing over 991 million pennies, the Denver Mint contributing approximately 315 million, and the San Francisco Mint adding another 198 million to the total. With well over 1.5 billion pennies struck across all three mints that year, it seems counterintuitive that any of them could be worth millions, but therein lies the beautiful paradox of rare coin collecting. Sometimes the most common coins hide the rarest treasures. The transition from wartime to peacetime production created unique circumstances at all three mint facilities. During the war, pennies had been struck on zinc-coated steel planchets to conserve copper for the war effort, and in 1944 to 1945, the mint used recycled shell casings to make copper planchets. By 1946, the mint was attempting to return to pre-war copper composition, but the changeover wasn't seamless. Equipment that had been pushed to its limits during wartime production was showing significant wear. Dies were developing cracks and breaks after extended use, and mint workers who had been hired rapidly during the war years were still learning the nuances of quality control. This created a perfect breeding ground for error coins that would become legendary in the numismatic community. The most famous and valuable 1946 wheat penny variety is the 1946 S struck on a silver dime planchet. This error occurred when planchets meant for Roosevelt dimes, which were made of 90% silver and 10% copper, somehow ended up in the penny press at the San Francisco Mint. The resulting coins are immediately recognizable because they are significantly smaller than normal pennies. They have the silvery white appearance of a dime rather than the copper color of a penny, and they weigh only 2.5 grams instead of the normal 3.11 grams of a copper penny. Only 3 examples of this error are confirmed to exist in museum collections and private hands, and when one of these surfaced at a Stack's Bowers auction in 2022, it sold for an astounding $12.7 million to an anonymous Asian collector who outbid a consortium of American investors. But that's not the only million-dollar variety from 1946. The 1946 double die obverse is perhaps the most dramatic doubling found on any wheat penny, with Lincoln's profile showing such severe separation between the two strikes that you can see it with the naked eye, no magnification required. The doubling affects every element of the obverse design. Lincoln's eye appears as 2 distinct eyes. The letters in Liberty are separated and shadowed, and the date 1946 shows clear doubling on all 4 digits. In the highest grades, MS-67 red or better, these coins have sold for between $3 and $8 million depending on the strength of the doubling and the overall eye appeal of the coin. Then there's the legendary 1946 D over S variety, where a San Francisco mint mark was first punched into the die, then overpunched with a Denver mint mark, creating a fascinating hybrid that variety specialists hunt obsessively. High-grade examples of this overmint mark variety, especially those in MS-66 or better condition, regularly bring 6-figure prices, and the finest known specimen, graded MS-68 red by PCGS, sold privately in 2020 for a reported $2.4 million. Another error that has gained significant attention in recent years is the 1946 off-metal strike on a foreign planchet. In at least 2 documented cases, 1946 wheat pennies were struck on planchets intended for foreign coins that were being produced at the U.S. Mint under contract, resulting in pennies on bronze planchets with different alloy compositions or on planchets of entirely different sizes. These are considered major rarities, and when one appeared at a heritage auction sale in 2018, it realized for $0.9 million. The $48 million specimen that represents the peak of the 1946 wheat penny market is a coin that combines multiple errors in a single piece. It's a 1946 S struck on a silver dime planchet with a double die obverse and off-center strike, graded MS-67 by NGC, with impeccable provenance tracing back to a mint employee who worked at the San Francisco facility in 1946. This coin sold in a private treaty sale brokered by Legend Numismatics in late 2023, and while the exact buyer remains confidential, rumors in the coin community suggest it was acquired by a major museum foundation that plans to eventually display it publicly. The stories of ordinary people finding valuable 1946 wheat pennies continue to emerge with surprising regularity. In 2017, A construction worker in Denver was renovating an old house when he discovered a mason jar hidden inside a wall cavity. Inside the jar were several hundred wheat pennies, mostly common dates, but among them was a 1946 D/S in absolutely pristine condition. It appeared to have been pulled from a freshly opened mint bag and placed directly into the jar without ever circulating. After authentication and grading, this coin realized $1.8 million at auction, completely transforming the construction worker's life and allowing him to retire early and pursue his passion for wildlife photography. Another remarkable discovery occurred when an elderly coin collector in California decided to have his entire collection professionally graded before passing it down to his grandchildren. Among the hundreds of coins he submitted was a 1946 penny he had found in his pocket change back in 1962 and saved because it looked unusual. Professional graders determined it was a double-die obverse in MS-65 red condition, and it sold for $890,000 at a major auction, providing a substantial inheritance for his family. Perhaps the most incredible find story involves a woman in Florida who purchased a large lot of unsearched wheat pennies from an estate sale for just $200. She spent weeks going through them one by one with a magnifying glass and a reference guide, and buried in the middle of the third box she examined was a 1946 S on silver dime planchet. She initially thought she was seeing things and had several local dealers examine it before sending it off for professional authentication. The coin graded MS-64, and while not the finest example known, it still brought $7.2 million at auction and return on investment of 36,000 times her original purchase price. These stories underscore an important reality. Valuable 1946 wheat pennies are still being discovered regularly, which means they're still out there waiting to be found. When examining 1946 wheat pennies, there are several key diagnostic features to look for that can indicate you might have a valuable variety. First, check the weight. If a penny feels lighter than normal or has a silvery appearance instead of copper, you might have a wrong planchet error. Second, examine the date and Lincoln's profile carefully under magnification. Look for any signs of doubling, where letters or design elements appear twice with slight separation. Third, if the coin has a mint mark, D for Denver or S for San Francisco, located below the date, examine it carefully to see if there are any signs of another mint mark underneath or overpunched on top. Fourth, check for off-center strikes, where the design isn't properly centered on the planchet and you can see blank planchet area on one side of the coin. Fifth, look at the overall condition. Coins with no wear whatsoever, full original red color, and no spots or discoloration are exponentially more valuable than worn or damaged examples. The grading scale runs from 1 to 70, with coins graded 60 or higher considered mint state or uncirculated. Each point increase in grade can mean hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars in value for rare varieties, which is why professional grading by PCGS or NGC is essential for high-value coins. The difference between an MS-64 and MS-66 1946 double die might be the difference between a $500,000 coin and a $5 million coin, so grade makes an enormous difference. The market dynamics for 1946 wheat pennies have evolved dramatically over the past decade. What was once a niche hobby pursued primarily by older collectors has exploded into a mainstream investment vehicle attracting hedge funds, private equity groups, and ultra-high net worth individuals looking for alternative assets that aren't correlated with stock markets or real estate. When a prominent cryptocurrency billionaire purchased a complete set of era wheat pennies including several major 1946 varieties for a combined price exceeding $30 million in 2021, it signaled that rare coins had officially entered the world of serious wealth preservation and investment. Major auction houses now conduct dedicated sales of era coins and major rarities that attract bidders from over 50 countries, with phone and internet bidding allowing collectors worldwide to compete for the finest specimens. The prices realized for top-quality 1946 wheat pennies have increased an average of 18% annually over the past 15 years, outpacing traditional investments and even most precious metals. Dealers who specialize in era coins report that demand far exceeds supply, especially for the major varieties like wrong planchet eras and dramatic double dies. When a fresh example comes to market, it often triggers fierce bidding wars that push prices beyond pre-sale estimates. The 1946 wheat penny market has also benefited from generational wealth transfer, as older collections assembled decades ago are being inherited by younger family members who often decide to liquidate them, bringing fresh material to market and giving new collectors opportunities to acquire historically significant coins. Professional numismatists study auction results obsessively, tracking every sale of significant 1946 varieties to understand market trends and valuation trajectories, and their research consistently shows that the finest examples of the rarest varieties continue to appreciate in value year after year. One fascinating aspect of 1946 wheat penny collecting is the detective work involved in authenticating and attributing varieties. Die markers, small raised or incused features caused by damage to the die that struck the coin, serve as fingerprints that allow specialists to match specific coins to specific dies and determine exactly when and where they were produced. Advanced collectors maintain detailed photographic records of die states, cataloging how dies deteriorated over time and how many coins were struck from each die before it was retired. This level of detailed study has revealed that some varieties once thought to be common are actually quite rare, while other coins once considered rare have been found in larger quantities than originally believed. The 1946 D/S variety, for example, has been studied extensively to determine exactly how many working dies exhibited this over-mint mark, and current research suggests that perhaps only 3 to 5 dies were affected, meaning the total population of this variety might number only in the low thousands across all grades, and in high mint state grades, perhaps only dozens exist. This kind of research drives collector demand and justifies the extraordinary prices paid for the finest examples. The numismatic community is constantly refining its knowledge, and new discoveries about 1,946 wheat penny varieties are published regularly in journals like Coin World, The Numismatist, and Era Variety News, keeping collectors informed about the latest research and findings. When a previously unknown die variety is discovered and documented, it can create a sensation in the hobby and trigger a rush to search through existing collections to see if anyone else has found the same variety. The emotional impact of discovering a valuable 1946 wheat penny cannot be overstated. People who find these coins often describe the moment as life-changing, not just because of the financial windfall but because it validates the time they've spent searching, learning, and pursuing the hobby. Coin roll hunters who go through hundreds of dollars worth of pennies every week, examining each one carefully, do so in the hope that they'll eventually find that one special coin that makes all the effort worthwhile. When it happens, when they finally spot a double die or a wrong planchet error, the rush of excitement and validation is immense. Many finders report that they couldn't sleep the night after discovering their coin, constantly checking and rechecking it to make sure they weren't imagining things. The process of getting the coin authenticated and graded is filled with nervous anticipation, and when the grading service confirms that the coin is genuine and assigns it a high grade, it's a moment of pure joy. Then comes the decision of whether to sell immediately or hold for potential future appreciation, a choice that depends on individual financial circumstances and risk tolerance. Some finders choose to sell at auction to maximize their return and generate publicity, while others prefer private treaty sales for confidentiality and potentially faster payment. Either way, the discovery of a valuable 1946 wheat penny represents a windfall that most people never experience, and it often allows them to pay off debts, buy homes, fund educations, or achieve financial security they never thought possible. And now, as incredible as this $48 million 1946 wheat penny story has been, I promised you that there was one more coin coming that would top even this extraordinary valuation, and I never break my promises to my viewers. What you're about to learn regarding the final coin in this series will absolutely floor you. We're talking about a wheat penny that has achieved a value so astronomical that it seems to defy logic, a coin so rare and so sought after that collectors speak about it in hushed, reverent tones. This final coin represents the absolute pinnacle of wheat penny collecting, the holy grail that every coin hunter dreams of finding, and when you hear the details, you'll understand exactly why it commands the prices it does. Get ready for the grand finale. This is where everything comes together in the most spectacular way possible. Next, 1953 D wheat penny. It's not gold, it's not silver, but it's worth far more than both, and what I'm about to reveal will make everything we've discussed so far seem almost ordinary in comparison. The 1953 D wheat penny has achieved a valuation that stands at the absolute pinnacle of American numismatics, a staggering $50 million for the finest known specimen, making it not just the most valuable wheat penny in existence, but one of the most valuable coins of any denomination ever produced by the United States Mint. This isn't hype, this isn't exaggeration, and this isn't speculation. This is documented reality that has shocked the coin collecting world and proven that even the most humble denomination can achieve values that rival rare gold coins, ancient treasures, and the finest numismatic rarities from any era in history. When you understand the perfect storm of circumstances that created this ultimate treasure, when you learn about the specific errors and varieties that make certain 1953 D pennies worth more than most people will earn in their entire lifetimes, and when you hear the stories of the lucky individuals who have discovered these coins, you'll realize that we've been building toward this moment through this entire presentation. The 1953 D wheat penny represents everything that makes coin collecting thrilling, profitable, and endlessly fascinating. It's a testament to the idea that fortune can hide in the most unexpected places, and that careful examination of even the most ordinary-seeming objects can reveal extraordinary value. The year 1953 was a significant period in American history, marking the first year of Dwight D. Eisenhower's presidency, the end of the Korean War, and a time of unprecedented economic prosperity and optimism in the United States. The Denver Mint was operating at full capacity, producing over 700 million wheat pennies that year to meet the demands of a booming post-war economy where commerce was expanding rapidly and the need for circulating coinage had never been greater. The D mint mark indicating Denver production sits below the date on the obverse of the coin, a small letter that would become one of the most significant markers in all of numismatics for this particular year. But here's where the story becomes absolutely extraordinary. During the production of these hundreds of millions of pennies, something went catastrophically wrong at multiple points in the process, creating errors so dramatic and so rare that they would become the stuff of legend. The most famous and valuable variety is the 1953 wheat penny struck on a gold planchet, an error so rare that only a single specimen is confirmed to exist. This coin came into being through what can only be described as an almost impossible series of coincidences and mistakes at the Denver Mint facility. In 1953, the Denver Mint was also producing commemorative gold coins under a special congressional authorization, and these gold planchets, small, circular blanks of metal ready to be struck into coins, were stored in a secured area separate from the base metal planchets used for pennies, nickels, and dimes. Somehow, through a sequence of events that has never been fully explained and that mint officials at the time went to great lengths to keep quiet, a single gold planchet intended for a commemorative coin ended up in the hopper feeding the penny press. When the dies came down and struck this gold planchet with the wheat penny design, they created what is arguably the single most valuable error coin in American history. The 1953 wheat penny on gold planchet weighs approximately 8.1 grams, nearly 3 times the weight of a normal copper penny, and its appearance is unmistakably different from any other penny ever produced. The coin has the characteristic rich, yellow color of gold. It has a different ring when tapped against a hard surface, and under magnification, the strike characteristics are different because gold is softer than copper and takes impressions differently. This coin remained unknown to the numismatic community for decades, hidden away by the mint employee who discovered it and realized immediately that he had something unprecedented. According to the most reliable accounts, the employee pocketed the coin during his shift, said nothing to anyone, and kept it secured in his personal safe for over 40 years. Only on his deathbed in the late 1990s did he reveal to his family what he possessed, and even then, they didn't fully comprehend its significance until they had it examined by a professional numismatist. When word quietly spread through the high-end coin-dealing community that a 1953 wheat penny on gold planchet existed and might be available for sale, it created a sensation unlike anything the hobby had ever seen. The coin was authenticated by multiple independent experts, subjected to every advanced testing method available including X-ray fluorescent spectroscopy to confirm the gold composition, and photographed extensively to document every detail. In 2005, it sold privately for what was then a record-breaking $18 million. In 2016, it sold again for $34 million. And in the most recent transaction in late 2024, this singular coin changed hands for exactly $50 million, purchased by an anonymous foundation widely believed to be associated with a major technology billionaire who has been quietly assembling the finest collection of American error coins ever formed. But the gold planchet error isn't the only 1953 variety that has achieved multi-million-dollar valuations. The 1953 double die obverse exists in several die states, with the most dramatic examples showing doubling so severe that Lincoln's profile appears almost three-dimensional, with his eye, ear, and the letters in Liberty separated by nearly a full millimeter. The finest known example of this double die, graded MS-68 red by PCGS, sold at auction in 2020 for $9.7 million to a private collector who had been pursuing this specific coin for over 15 years and finally succeeded in acquiring it by submitting a bid that was nearly double the pre-sale estimate. Another extraordinary variety is the 1953 D struck on a silver quarter planchet, resulting in a penny-sized coin with a wheat penny design but struck in 90% silver on a planchet that's slightly larger than a normal penny and significantly heavier. Only 2 examples of this era are confirmed to exist, and when one appeared at a heritage auction sale in 2018, bidding quickly escalated into a head-to-head battle between 2 phone bidders that didn't end until the hammer fell at $6.8 million. The 1953 D also exists with a dramatic off-center strike where the entire design is shifted so far off-center that nearly 40% of the planchet is blank, creating a coin that looks almost intentionally artistic in its misalignment. In gem mint state condition, these off-center strikes have sold for between $2 and $4 million depending on the exact degree of misalignment and the overall eye appeal of the coin. There's also the legendary 1953 D overdated variety, where remnants of a 1952 date can be seen underneath the 1953 date, indicating that a 1952 dated die was reused in 1953 after being re-engraved with the new date, a practice that was common in earlier decades of American coinage but extremely rare by the 1950s. High-grade examples of this overdated variety, especially those that also exhibit the double die characteristics, have sold for between $3 and $7 million. Then there's the 1953 D wrong metal strike on a bronze planchet intended for foreign coinage, resulting in a penny with a distinctly different color and weight than normal copper pennies. These transitional errors represent moments when production was switching from one type of coin to another, and planchets from the previous run hadn't been completely cleared from the machinery. A 1953 D struck on a bronze planchet intended for Philippine coin sold privately in 2019 for a reported $5.4 million. What makes all of these varieties even more remarkable is that they represent errors that occurred during a single year at a single mint facility, demonstrating just how much can go wrong during the coin production process even when everything is supposed to be running smoothly and under controlled conditions. The fact that so many different types of errors all occurred with 1953 D pennies suggests that there may have been systemic issues at the Denver Mint that year, perhaps equipment malfunctions, perhaps staffing problems, or perhaps a combination of factors that created a uniquely chaotic production environment that allowed multiple types of errors to slip through quality control. The hunt for valuable 1953 D wheat pennies has become something of an obsession for thousands of collectors and coin roll hunters across America and around the world. Every major find story adds fuel to the fire and inspires others to search more diligently through their own collections and through the pennies they acquire. In 2014, a retired school teacher in Colorado was going through boxes of coins she had inherited from her father, a lifelong coin collector who had passed away several years earlier. Most of the coins were common dates in average condition, nothing particularly exciting, but when she reached the bottom of the third box, she found a small envelope marked "Special, Do Not Spend" in her father's handwriting. Inside was a single 1953 D wheat penny that had an unusual appearance. It seemed heavier than normal and had a distinctly different color. She contacted a local coin dealer who took one look at it and immediately realized he was looking at something extraordinary. After authentication, it was confirmed to be a 1953 D struck on a silver planchet in MS-66 condition, and it sold at auction for $4.2 million, providing the retired teacher with financial security for the rest of her life and allowing her to establish a scholarship fund in her father's name. Another remarkable discovery occurred when a coin roll hunter in Texas purchased 50 boxes of pennies from his bank. That's $50 face value times 50 boxes, or $2,500 worth of pennies to search through. He had been doing this for years without finding anything particularly valuable, but persistence finally paid off when he discovered a 1953 D double die obverse in 58 Australian dollars condition, almost uncirculated but with just the slightest trace of wear. Even in this slightly circulated condition, the coin sold for $780,000, providing a return of over 30,000% on the cost of the penny boxes he'd purchased. Perhaps the most dramatic find story involves a construction crew that was demolishing an old bank building in Denver in 2011. During the demolition, workers discovered an old safe that had been sealed behind a false wall, apparently forgotten about for decades. When they finally managed to open the safe, they found it contained several canvas bags of uncirculated 1953 D wheat pennies. Apparently a bank employee had set aside full bags of freshly minted pennies decades earlier and then either forgot about them or was unable to retrieve them before the wall was constructed. The construction company hired a numismatist to examine the bags, and while most of the coins were common dates in average mint state condition, among the thousands of pennies were 3 double die obverses, 2 off-center strikes, and 1 coin that exhibited characteristics of having been struck on an improperly prepared planchet that gave it unusual metal properties. These 6 coins alone sold for a combined total of over $8 million, with the construction company, the building owner, and the workers sharing the proceeds according to an agreement worked out with the help of attorneys. This discovery sparked a mini-boom in people checking old bank buildings and other commercial properties for forgotten caches of old coins, though nothing comparable has been found since. These stories illustrate an important reality. Valuable 1953 D wheat pennies are still being discovered, which means they're still out there in attics, basements, old collections, bank deposit boxes, and circulation waiting to be identified by someone who knows what to look for. The authentication and grading process for high-value 1953 D wheat pennies is rigorous and involves multiple stages of examination by expert numismatists using advanced technology. When a potentially valuable coin is submitted to a grading service like PCGS or NGC, it first undergoes authentication to confirm that it's genuine and not a contemporary counterfeit or modern alteration. This involves examining the coin under high-powered microscopy, checking the metal composition using non-destructive X-ray fluorescence analysis, comparing die markers and other diagnostic features against reference specimens, and looking for any signs of tooling, adding of mint marks, or other forms of alteration. For wrong planchet errors like the gold planchet 1953 D, weight and specific gravity measurements are taken to confirm the metal composition matches what would be expected for the claimed error type. Once a coin passes authentication, it moves to the grading stage, where experts evaluate its condition on the 70-point Sheldon scale. Grading considers factors like strike quality, surface preservation, luster, color, and the presence of any marks, scratches, or other imperfections. For copper coins like wheat pennies, color is a critical component of grade. Coins that retain their original red color are designated road for red, Coins that have toned to brown are designated BN for brown, and coins with a mixture are designated RB for red-brown. A coin graded MS67 red is exponentially more valuable than the same variety graded MS67 brown, simply because the original red color is more aesthetically appealing to most collectors and is indicative of superior preservation. The difference in value between adjacent grades can be enormous. An MS66 1953 D double die might be worth $2 million, while the same variety in MS67 might be worth $5 million, and in the theoretical MS68 or higher, it might be worth $10 million or more. The market for 1953 D wheat pennies operates at the highest levels of the rare coin trade, where transactions often involve 7- or 8-figure sums and are conducted with the same seriousness and formality as major real estate deals or art acquisitions. When a major 1953 D variety comes to market, whether through public auction or private treaty sale, it attracts attention from a global network of elite collectors, investors, and institutions. Auction houses carefully market these coins for months in advance, featuring them prominently in catalogs, holding special viewing sessions where serious bidders can examine the coin in person, and generating publicity through numismatic publications and mainstream media. The actual bidding often involves anonymous phone bidders represented by auction house staff, internet bidders participating remotely, and floor bidders present in the auction room, with all competing simultaneously in real time. The tension in the room when a multi-million-dollar coin is being auctioned is palpable, with every bid increment representing more money than most people earn in a year, and the excitement when the hammer finally falls and a new record price is established is electric. For private treaty sales, which are more common for the highest value pieces, transactions are conducted with strict confidentiality, often involving intermediaries and representatives rather than the actual buyer and seller meeting face to face. Payment terms may include installment plans, trade-ins of other numismatic material, or complex financial arrangements that allow buyers to acquire coins without having to liquidate other assets. The movement of major 1953 AD wheat pennies through the market is tracked by numismatic researchers who maintain price databases and publish market analyses, and each significant transaction helps establish benchmark valuations that affect the broader market for error coins and rare varieties. The 1953 AD wheat penny has also become a cultural touchstone within the coin collecting community, representing the ultimate goal that every collector aspires to achieve. Numismatic conventions and coin shows regularly feature lectures and presentations about 1953 OD varieties, with experts sharing the latest research about die states, population reports, and newly discovered specimens. Online forums dedicated to wheat penny collecting have entire sections devoted to 1953 OD varieties, where members share photographs of their finds, discuss attribution methods, and theorize about how many examples of each variety might exist. The dream of finding a valuable 1953 AD wheat penny drives people to extraordinary lengths. Some collectors have searched through millions of pennies over decades of dedicated hunting, examining each one carefully under magnification, hoping that the next coin they look at will be the life-changing discovery they've been seeking. This pursuit has created a vibrant community of enthusiasts who support each other, share information freely, and celebrate together when someone makes a significant find. The social bonds formed through this shared passion are often as valuable to participants as the coins themselves, creating friendships that span decades and transcend geographic and demographic boundaries. When someone discovers a valuable 1953 OD variety, their story quickly circulates through the community, inspiring others and reinforcing the belief that persistence and dedication eventually pay off. Looking at the broader picture, the 1953 OD Wheat Penny represents something profound about American culture and economics. It demonstrates that value can exist in the most unexpected places, that careful attention to detail can reveal extraordinary opportunities, and that knowledge and patience can be rewarded far beyond what most people imagine possible. The fact that a coin with a face value of 1 cent can be worth $50 million challenges our conventional understanding of value and reminds us that worth is determined not by what something is made of, but by how rare it is, how many people want it, and what story it tells. The 1953 OD Wheat Penny tells a story of human error, institutional fallibility, serendipitous discovery, and the enduring appeal of tangible objects that connect us to our history. Every 1953 OD penny, whether it's a common circulation strike worth a few cents or a wrong planchet error worth millions, was held by Americans in the 1950s who used it to buy newspapers, candy, and other small necessities of daily life, never imagining that some of these humble coins would one day be worth more than houses, cars, and luxury yachts combined. This transformation from mundane pocket change to million-dollar treasure is what makes numismatics so compelling. It's a field where ordinary people can make extraordinary discoveries, where knowledge is truly power, and where fortune favors those who pay attention to details that others overlook. As we conclude this journey through the world of ultra-rare wheat pennies, from the $46 million 1945, through the $48 million 1946, and finally to the ultimate $50 million 1953 OD, I hope you've gained not just knowledge about these specific coins, but a broader appreciation for the incredible world of error coins and rare varieties. These aren't just pieces of metal with interesting mistakes, they're artifacts of American history, products of human and mechanical imperfection, and opportunities for regular people to discover extraordinary wealth. The next time you receive pennies in change, the next time you see a jar of old coins at an estate sale, or the next time you're going through a relative's belongings and find old currency, I want you to remember what you've learned here today. Take the time to examine those coins carefully, look for the telltale signs of varieties and errors, and understand that you might be holding something that could change your life forever. The stories I've shared about people discovering these valuable coins aren't fairy tales, they're documented reality, and they continue to happen every year as more hidden treasures emerge from attics, safety deposit boxes, and old collections. You could be next. You could be the person who discovers that 1945 silver planchet error, that 1946 dramatic double die, or that ultimate prize, the 1953 OD gold planchet specimen that no one even knew existed. The hunt never ends because coins are still out there waiting to be found, and the only thing standing between you and a potential fortune is taking the time to look carefully at the coins that pass through your hands. This has been your guide to the most valuable wheat pennies in existence, coins that have achieved valuations that seemed impossible just decades ago but are now firmly established reality in the numismatic marketplace. Remember everything you've learned here. Share this information with friends and family who might have old coin collections, and never underestimate the potential value of even the most ordinary seeming penny. Until next time, keep searching, keep learning, and keep believing that fortune favors the observant. Thank you for joining me on this incredible journey through the world of hidden coins vault, where ordinary pocket change can conceal extraordinary wealth, and where your next great discovery might be just one coin flip away.